Well, but that's the incredible thing about that week, is that we sang and danced and laughed and cried the whole week. Probably one of the most incredible weeks of my life. And you know, I guess we thank David for giving us that week and helping us to all realize how important family and love is. So I wanted to remember someone else passed. So the third of my four brothers, Zach McElvey, a.k.a. Z-Boy, a.k.a. Mr. Nice Guy, was a really mean guy. And when we were children, Ann and I would cry and cry when Mother and Daddy would go out and leave us with Zach. And they couldn't understand why. Because he was so good at acting like he was the nicest guy in the world, Mr. Nice Guy. And as soon as they left, he would torture us. We would run through the house screaming because he'd be chasing us and threatening us. And I don't even remember what all, but I just know we were scared to death. Well, years go by, and there were many a fun time with Zach. Certainly I loved that we all got together and sang, and him playing the guitar, and Bob and Pope and singing. And years go by, and in those last 2 years of Daddy's life, when I went back and lived in Montgomery, and in that last year, that 9 months that Dad came home from the hospital with pneumonia, and we thought, doctor said he'd have about 2 weeks, and he lasted 9 months. And we all came together, pulled together to take care of Daddy, because Mother couldn't really, she tried. She wanted to help so bad, but she really couldn't do anything. And as I said, this is a story about Z-Boy, and everybody helped. But you know, I stayed there most days. My kids were gone, and my work was such that I could kind of put it on hold, and so I stayed at the house during the day and some nights, and everybody else filled in to give me a break. Well, Zach had come over a lot. He'd come over at lunchtime a lot and sit and talk to me, and we'd sit out on the porch. And I don't have a story of some great thing he did, except that he was there. He was there a lot for them and a lot for me. Well, during that time, I don't know, maybe he'd been going to Bob's church, I don't know, but he wanted to change, and he wanted to really be Mr. Nice Guy. And he went through, I don't know, a few weeks, a month, where he was not going to tease people.
Oh my, that's a stretch.
And he was really gonna be Mr. Nice Guy. And he'd come over, and before you know it, something would slip. And I'd have to remind him, now remember, you're Mr. Nice Guy. Oh yeah. And after a few weeks, he gave up. Because he just had to be who he was. And who he was one of the most generous, loving people who sure could tease you.
Oh, he could.
He sure could tease you and make you laugh. And you always knew, though, he loved you and loved his family. So that's the end of that story.
I want to say